Single father discovers his daughter's amazing chess move, shocking CEO to tears in an unexpected showdown. Tom had never dreamt his little Lily would come to him with the kind of brilliance he discovered in the attic that lazy Saturday afternoon. A creaky old chess set, worn from years of family imperfection, was hidden beneath dusty boxes. Among the grime and neglect, it whispered legacy, a connection to his father who had been gone too long. Tom hesitated as he brushed the dust off the box. Was there financial strain engraved in the wood? His fingers trembled not from the chill, but from the overwhelming fears of inadequacy gripping his heart. If only he could provide better for his daughter, he was failing in the eyes of the world. As he showed the chessboard to Lily, he felt exposed under scrutiny. They spent the next hours tangled in how pieces moved, their laughter rising above the whispering doubts in his mind. Each pawn represented a step forward, but it was Lily's eyes, glowing with excitement, that compelled his breaking heart. Would this game turn into a way for her to escape the haunting whispers of being an outcast at school? "Dad, can I try playing?" she asked, her shy voice dancing with hope. He felt the pressure bearing down. The stakes rose higher than he anticipated. The thought of watching her compete in a world that seemed starkly against them, where privilege overshadowed their simple, honest life, filled him with dread. But he nodded, unwilling to stifle her budding confidence. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Lily's passion for the game ignited a determination he hadn't seen in her before. The local chess tournament loomed on the horizon, her excitement juxtaposed against his fear. Her opponent, a polished CEO, was not simply any player. He was powerful, affluent, and the father of one of the kids in Lily's class. How would his daughter face such a titan? Would the world witness the clash of merit against entitlement? As Lily practiced, Tom's heart raced with conflicting emotions. Pride mingled with dread. His palms sweat as he considered their place like a chess piece caught in a relentless maneuver. Would he be enough to support her, or would she face this challenge alone? The tournament day arrived, and he positioned himself at the sidelines, body tense, nervous energy crawling beneath his skin. As the match began, he watched her unique strategy unfold, a beautiful dance resonating from their practice sessions. Then, an unexpected move left the crowd. Quiet gasps broke the air like crisp branches snapping in the chill of a winter night. Behind the mask of the arrogant CEO, Tom saw something crack. Just then, vulnerability washed over him. A potent mixture of anguish surged as emotions tangled, watching everything teeter on the edge. The moment hung heavy, and Tom braced for the verdict. Would this father, powerful and aloof, reject what was happening in a desperate attempt to cling to his sense of success? Tom's heart thudded painfully, filled with the weight of destiny. He needed to know that this fight was more than just a game. It was a chance to redefine success in a world that often didn't see value beyond wealth. But as the crowd's voices faded into a haze, turmoil threatened to drown him, leaving him to wonder what this moment truly meant for them, for Lily, and for their future beyond the chessboard. As the remaining seconds ticked away in the tense silence, Tom felt an unsettling mix of hope and fear. Was this it? The moment that would shape not only Lily's future but his own perception of himself? He absorbed so much of his worth through dollar signs and societal approval, but now found himself questioning those very foundations he built his life on. With every quiet gasp from the audience, he allowed his mind to wander, reflecting on the sacrifices he made. The late shifts at work, the endless bills piling up, the missed moments with Lily, all in pursuit of a version of success he now knew was too narrow. This tournament was more than a game. It was a chance to dig deep into their shared journey, one defined by learning and growth instead of wealth or status. As the final moments approached, Tom noticed a shift in Lily's demeanor. She held the chess pieces with newfound confidence, her earlier nervousness melting away. If only he could mirror that assurance. He struggled with his own self-doubt, each heartbeat echoing the question. Would she emerge victorious despite the odds stacked against her in this world? A world that often valued boasts over character, appearances over authenticity. In the crowd, Tom spotted the glimmer of admiration in some faces, an expectation of success that hadn't been afforded to him before. It struck him then that while Lily could be facing a powerful opponent across the board, he was also standing against every version of himself that had ever believed in limitations. The realization hit hard. The moment held weight not just for them but for anyone who dared to challenge the status quo. Lily's concentration remained laser-focused, and her next move, a bold sacrifice of her queen, took the audience by surprise. What is she doing? Tom thought, his stomach twisting. Sacrificing such a pivotal piece felt reckless, but within the embodiment of her choice lay a potent reflection of their life together. Sometimes progress required giving something up to achieve a greater goal, to create space for future success. The CEO's face shifted from surprise to frustration, emotions flaring through the crowd like wildfire. Tom caught the man's glance for just a brief moment. Was that fear he saw lurking beneath his composed facade? The realization ignited something in him. This match was more than a competition, and Lily was more than a little girl awkwardly navigating a game. She was a warrior stepped into a crucial battleground, reshaping expectations with every calculated move. Whatever the final outcome, he decided then and there that this situation had become transformative. In that moment, as sweat collected along his brow and tension enveloped the space around him, he quietly vowed to shed the constraints of his limiting beliefs. He wanted to forge a new narrative not just for himself, but for Lily. What if I supported her fully? He pondered. The idea felt liberating yet terrifying. Investing in her interests meant standing behind her unwaveringly, challenging every instinct that told him to cower in judgment. Could he facilitate an authentic connection between them that transcended this one match and life's trials beyond it? As the final move played out, the match drawing to a close, emotions ran high, and Tom felt invigorated by the realization that this moment, no matter the outcome, would change them both irrevocably. They were pioneers in their unique journey, gracing each square of the chessboard with vulnerability and triumph. But as the final piece fell, the verdict looming like a shadow, one question remained. Could he embrace the changes unfolding within him in time to seize a chance that was greater than winning? Tom's heart raced as the final piece collided with the board, the sharp sound slicing through the suffocating silence. The audience erupted into a cacophony of cheers and gasps, but the noise felt distant to him. Lily's expression shifted from concentration to sheer delight as she processed her victory. For a brief moment, they were suspended in the glow of triumph, and yet, a weight hung in the air. In the midst of elation, doubt crept back in. Tom could feel the remnants of self-doubt clinging to him, threatening to unravel the progress he had just begun to cultivate. As much as he celebrated Lily's win, he was eager to dissect the judgment that awaited her future. Would this victory lead to heightened expectations? Would success merely amplify the pressure? He approached Lily, hoping to grasp her vision without the distortions of his fears. Her face beamed with the kind of joy he had not witnessed in a long while, a feeling that transcended winning and losing. It was the embodiment of growth, a realization that came from hard work and authentic connection. As he knelt down to her level, he saw not just the champion but the confident young girl she was becoming. "You played brilliantly, sweetheart," he whispered, his voice laced with a mixture of pride and uncertainty. "But what do you want this to mean for us? For you?" Lily's gaze turned contemplative, and for a moment, Tom thought she might reflect his doubts back at him. Instead, she took a breath, her chest rising with determination. "I just want to keep playing and learn more," she replied, her voice steady. "Winning is great, but I love the game, Dad." In that moment, something shifted within Tom. He realized that the core of her confidence did not stem from what others expected of her, but from her love of learning and exploration. Her aspirations were simple yet profound. They hadn't been diluted by societal judgments, and perhaps neither did his need to define himself through those same standards. As they walked away from the board, the bright lights fading in the background, Tom made a decision. He would not only support Lily's passion for chess but also reflect on what truly fulfilled him. Could he allow himself the same freedom to explore his passions without the chains of validation from external sources? The realization left him feeling invigorated yet terrified. An emotional authenticity lay ahead, but it would require vulnerability, the willingness to step into the unknown. Days passed, and the city buzzed around them. Tom initiated a series of chess lessons with Lily, dedicating countless afternoons to hone her skills. But his own lessons began to take shape. He started to revisit his neglected interests. A forgotten love for writing emerged in quiet whispers. An old curiosity in design sparked anew. With Lily as his inspiration, he expanded the boundaries of his own potential. However, as enthusiasm grew, so did echoes of doubt. He felt a call to share this journey, a longing to document their discovery together. Yet, the fear of judgment loomed like a shadow. Who would care about his voice? In his heart, Tom knew that taking the leap meant facing the critics within him. Would he expose his vulnerabilities, bearing his thoughts and fears through writing? Was he prepared to risk the rejection he had so often fled from? Each potential word unleashed a rising tide of anxiety that as he stood before his laptop one quiet evening, fingers poised above the keys, he hesitated. This marked the moment where the worlds of father and son converged, their mutual growth through love and learning. Whatever lay ahead would require immense courage. Could he push past the fear that had so easily defined him in the past? The answer lingered like an unsolved puzzle, teasing him with promises of liberation. As he prepared to take his first step into uncharted waters, a single thought crystallized in his mind. Perhaps this journey was not just about Lily after all. Maybe it was about reclaiming the person he could be, one step at a time. With pen trembling and heart racing, he began to type, but a sudden message pinged on his phone, pulling him back, an unexpected invitation to showcase their unique journey. Tom drew in a deep breath, knowing he was at the precipice of change. What awaited him next would redefine everything he thought he knew about success. Tom's breath caught in his throat as he stared at the screen. The message lingered like a beacon of opportunity, and yet it was laced with a creeping anxiety that could not be ignored. An invitation to showcase what? His story felt too raw, too unfinished, to be shared so publicly. He glanced over at Lily, who was immersed in a chess problem, her brow furrowed in concentration. In that moment, he grappled with a harrowing truth. She was a beacon of confidence while he still waded through muck and uncertainty. Harnessing a moment of resolve, Tom turned back to the laptop. Could he spotlight their journey without diminishing his insecurities? There was potential here, not just for them, but for him to step into a light he had long avoided. Shaking off the doubts, he set to work. As he began crafting the narrative, he found himself immersed in the beauty of their shared experience. Lily's unwavering spirit and his gradual rediscovery of self intertwined like the intricate patterns on a chessboard. Each keystroke became a strike against the nagging voice that had kept him stifled for so long. His fingers glided over the keys as he wrote about the lessons learned, the laughter shared, and the profound moments where Lily challenged not just her opponents but her father to see life differently. But the further he dove into the writing, the clearer the shadows of doubt grew. This piece was not merely a reflection of Lily's triumph. It bore the weight of his own insecurities, and as if on cue, memories of past failures bubbled to the surface. The moments he flinched away from dreams surfaced like phantoms. Would they emerge again if he invited the world into his narrative? Tom jolted to a halt. The message invitation tugged at his mind. They wanted a glimpse of a single father's journey, and yet here he was, floundering within the constraints of his self-imposed limitations. Perhaps the fear of judgment was less about how others would view his writing and more about how he viewed himself. He paused, closing his eyes. The vulnerability of sharing their story haunted him, but alongside it was a burgeoning sense of strength. Just like on the chessboard, where every piece is essential yet can only contribute to the whole when moved with intention, he realized he had to embrace his role, not shy away from it. The very act of sharing could be a profound step forward, an act of courage in itself. Gripped by an urgency to turn this realization into action, he resumed typing, weaving into the narrative his struggles, his fears of inadequacy, and ultimately, his journey towards acceptance. Each paragraph became a cathartic release, each sentence an affirmation of resilience. As he finished a section that detailed one particularly challenging lesson with Lily, he read back through his words, surprised by the clarity of purpose that emerged. By exposing his vulnerabilities, he could inspire not just his daughter, but also those who felt equally lost in the shadows of their own doubts. Then came the small voice inside that whispered dark, familiar doubts. Were these thoughts worthy of being shared? Would his truth resonate? Or was he merely crafting a tale of desperation masked as sage advice? Tom took a breath, a rush of determination surging through him. Writing was not merely a vehicle for expression, it was an act of defiance against the fear that choked him for so long. As he prepared to save the document, a new notification lit up his screen. It was a comment from the chess community on Lily's last competition piece, filled with praise and encouragement. For a split second, the juxtaposition of their journeys stilled his heart, a reminder that courage and vulnerability could yield unexpected connections. But then, as he prepared to send his work, his phone buzzed again, revealing yet another unexpected twist. A direct response from the curator of the showcase invitation, highlighting that they wished to discuss his piece personally. Tom's stomach flipped. Was he truly ready for this? Did he have the capability to represent not only his own growth, but to honor Lily's journey as well? In that moment, he realized he was about to step into a narrative not just for others to witness, but to embrace the full spectrum of his own courage that had remained dormant for too long. The imminent conversation with the curator loomed heavy on his mind, stirring the breaths between fear and excitement. What would it reveal about him, and what further challenges awaited? Tom leaned back in his chair, his heart racing with an electric mix of anticipation and dread. The invitation wasn't just an opportunity, it was a doorway into a new version of himself. Unsure if he was ready to cross that threshold, he held the phone tightly, the brightness of the screen illuminating his anxious expression. What if he failed again? What if he broke apart under scrutiny? The moments of self-doubt screamed louder than the echo of any past triumphs. But buried beneath the anxiety was a faint glimmer of resolve. Tom recognized that standing still, paralyzed by fear, would serve nothing, not him nor Lily. He released a shaky breath, remembering the discussions they often had about courage. Lily faced her chess opponents with an audacity he admired, her approach refreshing in its simplicity. Could he emulate her? The thought pushed him off the precipice of indecision. What's the worst that could happen? He muttered to himself, echoing Lily's words when she confronted her own fears. Swallowing hard, he picked up his notebook. The blank pages taunted him, but they also beckoned. With a determined hand, he began to jot down ideas for the upcoming conversation. This time, it wasn't merely about sharing a story, it was about constructing a new narrative for himself, one infused with tenacity and purpose. He began with the small joys, the warmth of Lily's laughter during late-night chess games, the feeling of her small hand gripping his for support during her competitions. Then he shifted to the heavier moments, the doubt that clouded their lives when he lost his job and the subsequent battles with his own identity. He paced back and forth in the living room, thoughts cascading like a waterfall. As the sun dipped below the horizon, he reflected on what Lily had taught him without realizing it. Courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to leap into the unknown despite it. The intention of showcasing their journey started to crystallize beyond mere storytelling. It was a chance to reveal that every failure was a step toward growth. This was the truth he needed to embrace, for himself and for her. Before he realized it, the hours had slipped away, and a sense of clarity enveloped him. He had mapped out the highs and lows with intricate detail, structuring it like a chess game, each move deliberate, each encounter vital to the overall victory. Yet, as his anticipation swelled, so did a new layer of concern. He needed to portray his story authentically while ensuring it didn't overshadow Lily's achievements. The balance felt precarious. How could he articulate his struggles without making them the focal point, risk overstepping the boundaries of her journey? That thought lodged itself firmly in his mind, An unyielding, not demanding resolution. Thomas' resolve was tested as the thought crossed his mind that maybe his own growth was not just intertwined with his daughter's success but was, in fact, crucial to it. Each push against fear resonated through their shared bond. It wasn't solely about writing. It was about emerging, together, as individuals who had triumphed over their shadows. Suddenly, he stopped. The conversation with the curator was imminent. They could discuss not just the piece but the larger narrative about finding strength through vulnerability. If he could share his journey effectively, it would weave their story, his and Lily's, together in a way that could resonate deeply with anyone else grappling with similar self-doubt. As he tucked his notebook away, confidence began to buoy him. Tomorrow would be the first step into the light. But instinctively, he felt the tightrope of uncertainty stretching before him, each breath echoing the tension of what was at stake. Would he rise to the occasion or revert to the shadows of doubt? The stakes were higher now, not just for him but for Lily's burgeoning future. As sleep nudged him, the weight of the day's revelations became a comforting shroud, though the current of expectation hummed within him. Would he navigate this conversation with the curator with the tenacity he discovered? The question loomed like a chess match waiting to be played out as he slid into a restless sleep, only to be awakened by surprising news that would alter the path of their story forever. Tom jolted awake, the dream still tingling at the edges of his consciousness. Where Lily's moves on a chessboard danced like a whirlwind. The clock read 3:17 a.m., yet sleep felt distant now. He couldn't shake the feeling that the surprising news awaited him was not about the curator or any external validation. It was more profound and intimate. He swept a hand through his hair, trying to shake off the remnants of sleep. His gut twisted with uncertainty. What if it was something about Lily? Had she won a crucial match in her latest tournament? The thought sent adrenaline racing through his veins, igniting an unspeakable need for clarity. Rising from bed, Tom's feet touched the cool floor, grounding him. He headed towards the living room, the early morning light creeping through the curtains. Everything felt silent at this hour, too silent. It reminded him of the quiet moments during a tense chess match, just before a critical decision was made. Did he really expect any news now? Surely, he should wait until morning for Lily to share her own triumphs. But as the minutes ticked by, something gnawed at his stomach, a mismatched sense of anticipation. He returned to his notebook, his fingers tracing the paper, forming patterns of letters that felt like wisps of thoughts yet to be fully realized. The blankness began to scream at him again, a reminder that this was the pivotal moment he had been preparing for. Then, his phone buzzed on the table, sending a spark of hope racing through him. He reached for it, sudden panic blooming as he saw it was a message from Lily's chess mentor. The dread from earlier cascaded back. What if it was more disappointment wrapped in the guise of mentorship? Taking a deep breath, he swiped the screen. The tournament results just dropped. Lily's in the top 4. His heart surged beyond his ribs. He had just received something he could scarcely comprehend. Was this real? Tom's fingers trembled as he read the rest of the message. Your shared insights on her strategies paid off. She played the last game brilliantly, and her highlight move was remarkable. We need to talk. Those words spun around in his mind like pieces on a chessboard, each one significant, shaping the trajectory of their lives in unforeseen directions. It felt as if Lily had not only won but had also stepped into a new realm of understanding herself as a competitor and a creator. Her triumph felt fundamentally intertwined with his own journey. Her success mirrored the courage he was attempting to cultivate within himself. Elation mingled with apprehension. Lily had outshined even her own expectations, proving the strategies they had worked on, meticulously picked apart together. But did he dare take credit? The internal conflict ricocheted through him. Was acknowledging her success becoming too self-centered? Tom paced, forcing himself to process the swelling pride. A creeping realization dawned on him. He needed to change his narrative. This was his daughter thriving, and if he allowed his own insecurities to overshadow her victory, he would forever be resting in the shadows of his fears. This moment was not his alone to claim. If he wished to honor Lily's achievements, he must confront his need for recognition and admiration at the same time. Would he allow Lily her own spotlight, or was he prepared for their story to reflect mutual success? His mind raced with the implications of the conversation awaiting him. What if he could help her articulate her chess moves, showing the world not only the brilliance of her game but also the supportive environment they had nurtured together? That could be their new narrative. In that moment of clarity, Tom felt the weight of potential shift. The curators' meeting was not just a personal endeavor anymore. It became a chance to celebrate Lily and himself, showcasing that their journeys could inspire others facing their own fears and doubts. The realization was profound, but it also held an unyielding tension. How would they share this moment brilliantly? What if she didn't want that? Just as uncertainty wrapped its arms around him again, a new, unsettling thought crossed his mind. Was it time to reveal something deeply personal that could shift everything both he and Lily knew about themselves? As dawn approached, painting the sky with brilliant hues, Tom felt the stakes rise once more. The moment of truth was not only about the chessboard anymore. It lay within the relationship forged by their shared battles and triumphs. Would he step up as a father, embracing her success while dismantling his hesitation? With that question pressing heavily upon his shoulders, he knew the next move had to be calculated yet bold, much like the strategy Lily had executed in her match. The path forward twinkled like a distant star, waiting for him to make his move. But was he ready to face the unknown consequences that would emerge from it? The sun broke through the horizon, flooding the room with a warm, golden glow. Tom stood by the window, absorbing the quiet moments as he gathered his thoughts. Today was a milestone not just for Lily, but for him as well. The news had reset his internal compass, igniting a desire to grow beyond his hesitations. He rubbed the nape of his neck, feeling the tension coiling within. His phone buzzed again, this time with a call from Lily. The ringtone struck through the stillness, pulling him back into the moment. He steadied his breath and answered, eager to hear her voice. "Dad." Her exuberance cascaded over the line. "I can't believe it. I made it to the top 4. Her joy was infectious, yet it anchored something deeper within him. It wasn't merely about the tournament. It was a beacon, a call to action for both of them. As she detailed her experience with each game, Tom held back the persistent impulse to insert himself into the narrative, to remind her of how they had prepared together. Instead, he decided to listen, appreciating her perspective for what it was, a reflection of her growth. The more she spoke, the more he recognized his role not as a shadow, but as a pedestal where she could shine. "That's amazing, Lily. Your hard work paid off. What was the pivotal moment in that last game?" As she described her highlight move, Tom felt all wash over him. This wasn't just skill. This was artistry. Each word she spoke shaped a confident young woman, one deeply aware of her strengths. Somewhere in that exchange, he realized he had been caught in his own self-doubt, fearing that his contributions paled in comparison to her achievements. The conversation was turning point. He was no longer merely a mentor but also an ally, a partner walking with her on this journey. His heart swelled with pride as he imagined highlighting her triumphs. "Your strategy was brilliant, and your execution was even better," echoing the sentiments of a partner in their shared adventure. Later that afternoon, as Tom sat at his kitchen table, he opened his notebook again. He wanted to pen down their shared experiences not just as a father, but as a reflection of their bond. The pages were filled with his observations of Lily's progress, coupled with agonizing internal reflections about his failures and insecurities. It was cathartic, but it also felt crucial. He needed to unearth these tangled emotions so he could articulate them later from a place of acknowledgement rather than resentment. The task at hand seemed monumental. How could he share this without it sounding overly sentimental or self-important? He began crafting a story that celebrated not just Lily's journey but also his evolution as a parent. Lines emerged conveying a mutual respect, a dance of encouragement rather than overshadowing. But then, a wave of uncertainty crashed back. Would Lily resonate with his vision? Would she appreciate him drawing connections between their lives? Or would she feel his perceived need for validation dulled her achievement? The paradox loomed over him. Was promoting her journey diminishing it by highlighting his role? With every keystroke, He wrestled with this internal monologue that as the clock ticked. He contemplated how liberating it would be to shed his own weight of expectation. Perhaps expressing the intersection of their journeys would encourage her to embrace both her individual success and their collective growth. They were sculpting a narrative together, one where he could lay down his fears and support her on the precipice of her own ambitions. Emboldened, Tom continued writing. But somewhere amidst the flurry of words, he sensed an impending storm approaching. The curator's call looming large on the horizon. He would soon share this new personal narrative with an audience, confronting his fears in a very public way. The moment of reckoning loomed, ripe with the possibility of transformation. Could he deliver this story without spilling his insecurities? Would he navigate the channel of pride without allowing doubt to seep in? As he closed the notebook, the weight of those questions paralyzed him. The time for action was upon him, and the only way out was forward. Just as he faced the gravity of this impending discussion, another thought pierced through the fog. Was it time to reveal the catalyst of their journey, a secret that could reshape not just his reality, but also Lily's? The answer dangled just out of reach, but he felt he was running out of time. Would he dare to expose the truths that intertwined their fates more than he had ever imagined? Tom awoke the next morning to a nagging tension that coiled tighter each minute. Daylight flooded his room, illuminating the corners that felt uncharacteristically heavy. Today wouldn't he just be any day? It marked the first public reading of his narrative, a culmination of uncertainty and revelation, and he was struggling to reconcile anticipation with the weight of his fears. As coffee brewed, Tom paced his kitchen. Each step resonated with the mixed cadence of anxiety and excitement, mirroring the chaotic thoughts swirling in his mind. Would his words resonate with the audience? Would they see him as a proud father or simply a man clinging to his daughter's success, afraid of the shadows his own life cast? Gazing out the window, he caught sight of Lily practicing in the backyard. Sunlight reflected off her confident movements, quick yet precise, reflecting the same skillful artistry she had described on the phone. It struck him as a moment of clarity. She couldn't have emerged so resilient without the challenges they faced together. In that realization, Tom understood he was no longer a passenger but rather the co-architect of their journey. Yet, confronting himself was always more challenging than supporting Lily. Each memory of their struggles felt more vivid, intertwining with images of her victories. Could he convey this symbiotic growth in his narrative without tarnishing the purity of her achievements? His heart raced. Self-doubt hadn't merely crept in, it had taken residence. Sitting back at the table, Tom pulled out his notebook and thumbed through hastily written notes, snippets of emotions captured during pivotal moments. He stopped on a sentence where he had expressed admiration for her resilience, realizing it echoed his own transformation. The story he had written was not solely about her success. It was about how her courage had reshaped his perspective, challenging him to confront his insecurities. As the clock ticked away the minutes, Tom allowed himself to breathe. He remembered the late-night talks they had, the lessons learned through failures, the unspoken connection that had given him strength. He wasn't discounting her achievements. He was celebrating them and acknowledging how they lit the path for his own development. Perhaps it was all reinforcing a thread that ran from their intertwined experiences. Yet what about the secret he wondered if he should reveal? It felt like an anchor weighing down his spirit. This wasn't merely a private matter. It was a truth that had woven itself into the fabric of their relationship. Tom hesitated, questioning the validity of sharing it. Could this information provide context and depth to their journey? Or would it overwhelm Lily and cast a shadow on her triumphs? Panic simmered beneath his composed exterior. He gripped the edges of the table, conscious of the swirling sea of opinions that awaited him. There would be skeptics, critics. Tom envisioned the skeptical gaze of the curator, ready to dissect every syllable for relevance and authenticity. Delivering his true self felt like stripping away the only armor he had built to protect himself. With resolve shaking at his core, Tom began typing again. Words flowed with a newfound urgency, ignited by the stakes of authenticity. As he navigated his memories of failures, his moments of recognition, vulnerability, and laughter. He intertwined Lily's journey with his in a way that felt organic, less about him and more about them. Time slipped away. The looming specter of the reading returned, casting long shadows across the pages. Could he really commit to disclosing the powerful catalyst, the unexplored truths that had driven both their paths? Out there, in the realm of public opinion, was he ready to peel back the layers of their story? Just as he leaned closer to the screen, the doorbell echoed through the house, snapping him back. The unexpected sound sent a shiver through him. Was it Lily, or someone to critique his path of self-discovery? Taking another deep breath, he felt the urgency of the moment escalate. Would this uninvited interruption distract him from the preparation he desperately needed? Or would it bring unexpected clarity as he confronted the choices ahead? With a pounding heart and a sense of determination, he stood, ready to answer the call, but what awaited him beyond that door could redefine everything he believed about their journey. Tom steadied himself, the weight of the decision he faced pulling at him even as he approached the door. With each step, doubts ricocheted through his thoughts. What if the visitor brought news that diverted his focus from the reading? Yet the persistent push of his curiosity won out. Who could it be, and what might they unveil about his direction today? He swung the door open, and there stood Julian, his longtime friend and confidant, a broad smile breaking through his usually serious demeanor. "Tom, I thought I might find you here," he said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "Julian, I was just..." Tom trailed off, the rehearsals crumbling in the whirlwind of Julian's unexpected arrival. The excitement in Julian's voice was palpable, but Tom felt the somber undertow of intrusive anxiety surfacing again. "I'm about to read my piece for the first time in public." "Exactly," Julian exclaimed, grabbing Tom by the shoulders. "You remember the last time you said you were too scared?" He punctuated the comment with a knowing look. This could be the moment that changes everything. The urge to resist bubbled within Tom, a fierce instinct to retreat back into his carefully curated fears. "But what if it's not received well?" he stammered, the words spilling out like confessions. "What if my truth makes Lily uncomfortable? What if the list of objections grew heavy on his tongue?" Julian cut him off, unwavering. "Or it could inspire someone. Listen, you have a unique perspective not just on her journey, but on your own. You're not just telling her story. You're sharing how it shaped you. People connect with vulnerability, their strength in honesty." As Julian spoke, a slow realization dawned on Tom. Perhaps his truth could illuminate parts of their shared journey in ways he hadn't fully grasped. His internal turmoil was mirrored in Julian's fervent eyes, filled with encouragement. "You're a father whose resilience has matched his daughter's. That's powerful." Tom felt something shift inside him, a sliver of determination surfacing through layers of fear. "I need to decide how much to share, though," he replied, chewing on his lower lip, an unconscious habit revealing his agitation. "There's a secret, something that ties into our struggles, then maybe it's worth including," Julian urged, his tone gently prodding. "The truth resonates. Think about it. That could be the emotional landscape that others can relate to. That may be what drives them to reevaluate their own journeys." As Tom reflected on Julian's words, he began to consider what laying bare his experiences might mean not only for himself, but for Lily as well. He envisioned the pinpoints of pride in her face with each shared triumph and the bittersweet shadows that had mingled in those moments. Would this truth not only reflect his growth but also highlight their bond, rather than overshadow it? "I need to speak to her about it," Tom declared, a new sense of urgency fueling his resolve. "If I'm going to share my story, I want her to understand why I felt compelled to open up." "Good idea," Julian responded, his smile still unwavering. "You can't just jump in blind. Communication is key. Make this a part of your shared story." A wave of gratitude washed over Tom at that moment, tightening the bonds of friendship he had nearly overlooked in the tide of personal chaos. It was a call to action, propelling him beyond the confines of self-doubt. He could navigate this path if he drew clarity from the relationship with his daughter, allowing their history to guide him. "Okay then," he said firmly, approaching the back door leading to the yard where Lily continued her practice, a vision of determination against the backdrop of the rising sun. "I'll talk to her." As he stepped outside, the fresh air invigorated his senses, mixing with the symphony of birdsong and the rustle of trees. Today wasn't just about public performance. It was about truth, resilience, and connection. Maybe by embracing both his fears and the shared journey with Lily, he could create something remarkable. The moment felt pivotal, but a lingering truth still spiraled within him. The need to reveal his deepest secret loomed larger than ever, and with it came a pressing question: what would Lily bring to the table once she learned of the truth he had almost carried alone? He approached, resolute yet cautious, preparing to confront both their shared history and the possibility of heartache. The stakes had never felt higher. Lily looked up as Tom stepped into the backyard, her concentration shifting from the chessboard to her father's face, where an unmistakable determination shone through his usual hesitance. Here was a moment he could seize, one that could redefine not only his connection with her but also the course of both their journeys. "Hey, sweetheart," he called, a smile tugging at his lips despite the weight brewing inside him. "Can I talk to you for a sec?" "Sure, Dad," she replied, her enthusiasm lightening the tension in his chest. He approached her, noticing the way she arranged her pieces with such focus. In those small movements, he saw not just a child at play but a young woman blossoming in strength and ambition. "Lily, I've been thinking a lot about your tournament and everything that has happened," he began, his voice steady. "And I want to share something important that connects to our journey together. But I need you to know it might change how you see me a bit." Her brows furrowed slightly in curiosity. "Okay, Dad, what is it?" Taking a deep breath, Tom felt the recognition of vulnerability wash over him. "You know how I've been pushing my own fears aside while supporting you? There's a reason for that," he said, choosing his words carefully. "For a long time, I used to believe that my worth was tied to financial success, to job titles and social validation. When I lost my job last year, it sent me spiraling. I was afraid of being a failure in your eyes. I never thought that." Lily interjected, surprising him. Tom smiled, grateful for her reassurance. "That means a lot, but here's the truth I've kept hidden. I've struggled not just in providing, but in expressing my self-doubt. And it took watching you grow, seeing you shine, to realize that I need to step into my own light too. Writing my story, sharing it publicly, is part of that, and I want you to be part of it too." The lines of uncertainty began to fade from Lily's face, replaced with a fire that flickered with understanding. "You mean like show people your journey?" she asked. "Exactly," he affirmed. "I want to connect our experiences, how you inspire me to be stronger, and how we can do this together as father and daughter. But I want to make sure you're comfortable with that sharing." "I think that's really cool, Dad." Lily beamed. "If it helps you, then let us do it together." Reassurance coursed through Tom, buoyed by his daughter's acceptance. The notion clicked. This shared exploration would amplify both their voices, forging a compelling narrative about courage, vulnerability, and resilience. "Thank you, Lily. This means more than you know," he said, engulfing her in a warm embrace. In that moment, he let go of the burden he had carried for too long, accepting that evolution and authenticity weren't signs of weakness, but essential components of strength. Days turned into weeks, and as they crafted the piece together, sharing stories rich with lessons learned and moments that shaped their lives, Tom felt himself shift profoundly. A clarity emerged from their collaboration, a lens through which he could view not only his identity but also parental love, a delicate dance where both partners could shine. The day of the reading arrived. Tom stood before an audience, nerves prickling like tiny needles, yet a foundation of assurance grounded him. He glanced to the side, where Lily sat, a pillar of support radiating confidence. She entrusted him with not only her voice but their shared story. When it was time to speak, he stepped forth, and as he began, words flowed seamlessly, painting a mural of struggle and triumph, of his fears tempered by his daughter's fearless spirit. The crowd was transfixed, eyes wide, witnesses to an evolution that extended far beyond chess or victory. It symbolized the unbreakable bond between a father and daughter. As he concluded, the applause filled the room, But what mattered most was the profound recognition of authenticity he felt. He had shed a weight he thought was inescapable. He emerged as a father who not only supported but also celebrated the strength of his daughter and his own. Later, amid encouragement from the audience and jubilant discussions with Lily, he felt a solid confidence settling within him. This transparent revelation became a source of pride, not just as a man, but as a parent thriving in belief. Tom had conquered the shadows of doubt and emerged victorious, not by re-establishing the measured worth of success he once clung to, but by demonstrating resilience through vulnerability. He looked at Lily, who found joy not in accolades but in the unfiltered experience of growth. Together, they understood. In conquering their fears, they had rewritten their legacies, transforming the chessboard of life into a landscape of boundless opportunity and connection. "Let us keep playing," she said, her enthusiasm tangible. "Always," Tom replied, hearts entwined, knowing they would face whatever came next together. Now is your moment to shine. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that explore transformative journeys. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because each interaction matters. We want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and theories about this powerful conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring ending. Your support can ignite change.